Power is where the action is, and we'll take this conversation forward for next couple of minutes. We would be discussing this entire sector thread and bear on ET now. Hey, Dhaul, Director General of Independent Power Producers of India. He joins us now to take our conversation forward to understand that why there is a surge in demand, how long the surge in demand will continue, and who will benefit because of this. So, Harry, to put it very simply, next 2 or 3 years, the supply and demand gap will only worsen. What will be the consequences of that? Do you think power prices in India will grow exponentially? What we are paying today is going to be much, what we will pay out 2 years from now, a year from now will be much higher than what we are paying today?
Nikunj, is the question to me?
That's right, Harry. Good morning.
I can hardly hear you. There's a little bit of muffled sound. Can you repeat your question? Sorry for that.
My question is that looking at the demand supply, which is how things are stacked up in the power sector, it appears that demand is going to be outstripping the supply. So to put it very simply, do you think...
To answer you, but unfortunately your voice is coming muffled, and you can switch to the next speaker, maybe they can fix the sound.
Sabyasachi, would you like to react to my, would you like to jump in? Did you hear my question?
I was able to, yeah. So basically, we are expecting over the next 2 to 3 years a demand growth of, anywhere between 5 to 6%, depending upon the underlying. I mean, our median estimate is somewhere around 5 to 5.5%, but there could be upsides depending upon, how quickly, how the economy takes off. So we are looking at 5 to 6% demand growth, and at best, the capacity will be barely able to catch up. Although we are adding a lot of, renewable energy capacity, we must remember that most of the renewable energy capacities have relatively low PLF factors compared to thermal, and the total, thermal addition is quite modest. But at the same time, the thermal PLFs are also not fully optimal. So there will be a slight, worsening of the supply-demand position. But I don't think, apart from, occasional, points in time, let's say April, May, or September, there may be a very sharp, mismatches between supply-demand. Broadly, the supply-demand should remain favorable, but not, we are not really seeing too much of, power cuts or blackouts, anything like that.
Power prices go higher. Do you think somewhere, whatever the gap is, the gap in a sense could really change the way how power pricing in India would move at residential level and at industrial level?
So yes, I mean, there will be, from the generator's perspective, definitely there will be short-term spikes. I mean, if you're looking at the cost of traded power, yes, definitely there will be spikes. And what it will translate to the end user, that is tariff for the end user, whether it's industrial or commercial or domestic. Yes, overall, we would expect, the tariffs to go up. There's already a gap between, what the DISCOMs are spending to supply power and what they are realizing by way of tariffs and subsidies. So there's already a gap there. And on top of that, we can expect, increases in coal prices as well. Basically, there has not been much of a revision by Coal India Limited of the APM coal that they're supplying to thermal power plants. So we can expect, an upward bias on that, as well as there'll be occasional, spikes in the power that they are buying from the market. So overall, yes, we can expect the tariffs to go up over the next couple of years.
Harry as well joins in back on the show. Harry, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Harry, just wanted to understand what is it that you're making of this spike, firstly, that one is seeing in power demand? And does it seem like this is transient or structural in nature?
I'm very excited about this because it's about time the power sector got its recognition. People were not even thinking about it for a long time. But I'm very happy that this is happening, a lot of focus. I think it is very sustainable because as the economy grows, people have begun to realize that they can't do anything without power. Whether it is industrial, agricultural, commercial, whatever. And leaving aside the politics of it, this is definitely going to grow, and it's going to grow for a long time to come because our economy is moving at a very fast pace, and it can only move thanks to availability of power. I also think the government is doing some super ideas on bringing in new technologies and bringing in dynamic policies, which are going to encourage the power sector players on all sides to do much better and to do much, in terms of performance, to become much better providers. So I'm very excited about the power sector, the way it's going. And yes, over to you again. I mean, I'd be happy to clarify and take this forward the way you want.
The other aspect, Harry, is also, while sure demand is going up and escalating with no degree, but can we meet that demand? That's the big question, right?
No, that's a very interesting question. I wish you were a cyber bot, to tell us, because it's all dependent on whether demand is becoming a little more complex to predict. And I think meeting the demand is a constant challenge because of the weather. Look at the way the monsoons happened this year. The result is that in the middle of the monsoon, the electricity prices have gone up. And, there are so many variables that need to be taken care of. And I think a lot of good steps have been taken to make sure that power is available. For example, as a previous speaker talked about, increasing of coal production, availability of coal, etc., etc. But at the same time, you need to see that you have to bring in more and more of technology to be able to predict demand. And for that, you need to have steps which have just been taken where a lot of the players will be able to do much better forecasting. And that is going to play a very important role in planning, in implementation, etc. So I think the new guys on the block in forecasting will definitely play an important role. And that will improve the efficiency. The other point which is important here is that the environment aspect has to also be taken into account. So it's a very interesting balance that needs to be struck. While you have the government encouraging environmental attributes, carbon trading and all that, but you also bring in transparency for the consumer. Right now, consumer didn't have too much of a choice, at least at the retail level, to buy power from wherever he wanted. But now it's beginning to happen. And my prediction is that the consumer today is going to be the generator tomorrow. And that's going to happen thanks to the smart meters. Another area which is really going to be going crazy on this on the exponential grade. So you got transparency coming in. You got a situation where it will be like a consumer eBay. You can.
I'm just going to encourage Sabyasachi also to come in, because I just want to address a very larger audience here. Sabyasachi, really from a market standpoint, everybody now is in a sense convinced that power demand is real. And the mismatch, I think, is something which is not temporary. It may be sporadic, but it could be the trend for next 2 or 3 years. There is a big profit pool which now opens up for companies which have a large exposure to merchant power. How do you see the merchant power as a category moving? And for our viewers who are interested in investing in some of the stocks or companies which would benefit because of this power shortage, which companies or which theme ideas would you have to invest in when it comes to this entire, power equation?
So I would not be, commenting on, stock specific or company specific, company specific, and what could be the impact on the share prices, etc. But definitely, it's pretty much clear that over the next 2 to 3 years, overall, the short-term tariffs will be on the higher side compared to what we have seen often in the past. I mean, they may not be very sharp peaks, as, for example, we saw in calendar year 22 around April, May, but still, nonetheless, the overall average merchant power tariffs will be on the higher side. So entities, whether they are, thermal-based players or even some renewable energy players have some amount of, merchant capacity, they will definitely make much better money from, merchant sales than they have often done in the past, particularly in the late 2018 to 2021 period, where the merchant realizations had been quite subdued. Definitely, they can look forward to better merchant tariffs over the next 2 to 3 years.
Harry, Sabyasachi, gentlemen, thank you very much. So